right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. My name is Collins Boachiadom, and I am one of the program managers here at Dream Legacy Foundation. In collaboration with Carleton University's Sprout School of Business and Dream Legacy Foundation, welcome. The Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, BEC, is here to empower Black founders worldwide. To celebrating Black History Month, we have the Dream Series, bringing supportive programming to Black founders, and especially for today, our leadership series is discussing the intersections of entrepreneurship and mental health. Our panel discussion, this is our first of many throughout the month. So thank you once again for joining us. To begin, we're actually going to start with a land acknowledgement. So today, let's take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we gather. We recognize and respect the traditional owners and custodians of this land, traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, Wendasani, and Mississauga, and express our gratitude for their enduring care and connection on this territory. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and emerging. In addition to acknowledging the land, we also honor the ancestors who have lived on and cared for this land over generations. We acknowledge the rich tapestry of stories, wisdom, and traditions passed down through ancestral lines. Let us carry forward the lessons and legacies of those who came before us as we engage in today's session. So the BEC, founded by Dream Legacy Foundation, is a national network of research hubs and community engagement organizations dedicated to community-based research. Our mission, to enhance the lived experience of Black entrepreneurs. Today's session and others this month are precisely designed to help you discover strategies that will propel you and your business forward. We are diving into the theme of the month, which is exploring the powerful intersections of entrepreneurship and community well-being. But that's not all. We have an incredible lineup of influential guests, leaders within the community who are eager to share industry insights, expert guidance, and knowledge to support your growth and development. Stay engaged with us through February as we roll out a total of 24 compelling workshops and 2 in-person events that you simply cannot afford to miss. This is more than just a series of sessions. It's an exciting journey of growth, empowerment, and promises to be very exciting and informative. Your success story begins now, and we can't wait to be a part of it. We also wanted to take this time to remind you of an ongoing free research skill building workshops which happen on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. These virtual workshops are meant to help entrepreneurs, business owners, and community leaders grow their research knowledge, skill set, and manage their research projects. Please make sure you tune in for additional. We wanted to take the time to also remind you of our 2 ways that you can support the BEC program as we continue to advocate for services and support for Black businesses worldwide, or nationwide, I should say. That's with the ecosystem mapping and the survey participation. Ecosystem mapping allows you to explore our database, linking entrepreneurs with partners, mentors, and advisors. You can to help navigate the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem with BEC's map. You can also participate through our surveys, which help shape the narrative of Black businesses' success in Canada. Now, before we dive into some housekeeping, we're going to get into some housekeeping very quickly. We encourage everybody to participate through the polling feature. We're going to make this as interactive as possible. We ask that everyone stay remuted unless you have a question. If you do, please feel free to use the hand raise button, which is located on the bottom or side of your screen. Alternatively, you can put your questions into the chat box or the Q&A box, and we can definitely present that to our panelists here. So at this time, I want to take the time to actually introduce our 3 guest panelists for today, starting with Patricia. Patricia, if you'd like to take a moment to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you, Collins, and hi, everyone. So I do have a video that can introduce me better. So it's just a short minute and change video. So if we could play that.
Patricia Bebia Mawa, the Executive Vice President of Afroglobal Television and Silvertrust Media, the largest Black-owned media organization in Canada. She is also the host of the Planet Africa show on Omni TV. She has directed and produced over 15 television programs, including the Oma Bella drama series and Standing Ovation. Patricia is the Associate Publisher of Excellence, Envision, and Destiny magazines. In 2008, Silvertrust Media introduced the Discover magazine series, which has since released over 20 titles and editions in various countries. Listed in the Who's Who in Black Canada, she is a recipient of the York Regional Police Civic Leadership Award, the Martin Luther King Dreamkeeper Award, and a Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. The mother of four is the co-founder of the Crossover Mentorship Program, a youth empowerment initiative. Patricia was spotlighted as Woman of the Week in Women's Post and also featured on CNN International in a half-hour special with her husband Moses. In March 2016, the duo launched Afroglobal Television, a 24-hour television channel that is on Rogers Cable, Bell 5, Eastlink, and TELUS across Canada. In 2018, Patricia and Moses co-authored the 150 Extraordinary Canadians Legacy book with a foreword by the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for that, Patricia. And that was a great video. Next, we have Michael Assiamah. Michael, if you could please introduce yourself, please.
Thank you very much, Collins, and everybody. I'm glad to be here with you. My name is Michael Assiamah. I'm the CEO and founder of Support and Growth. I'm a leading provider of mental health and wellness services here in Canada. I have an MBA as well as I'm a clinical practitioner. I've served in various roles within Ontario. Was the first Black chief of mental health in the Halton region as well as Canada-wide. I've have diverse backgrounds, experience, working in both mental health practice, clinical counseling, education, school social work, school mental health, child welfare, youth justice, and I'm very passionate about mental health as well as entrepreneurship. So I'm hoping to kind of really be able to speak to this topic today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael. And last but not least, we have Robert. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm greatly appreciate being here. My name is Robert Small. I'm the CEO of Legacy Enterprises. I'm also the creator of the Legacy poster. It's a poster that is distributed across Canada and has been for the last 30 years. I actually, a lot of the posters that you see, I painted all of them. And the Bank of Montreal is going to be distributing the poster and displaying it in all of their branches across Canada. This is going to be the third year that they're doing that. So I do that as well as I create these bookmarkers which have QR codes on the back of them. And there's 30 of them that mark the accomplishments of African Canadians. I'll put the link in the chat and you can check it while we're talking. And if anyone wants to contact me about it, I'd greatly appreciate it. And I'm an Order Canada recipient.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Congratulations on that success, Robert. It's
my Patricia-like video is in construction, right? So
it's in the mail. It's in the mix. It's in the mix. Well, that's
great. It's in the mix. The AI version might be cheaper, so I might go with that, right? So
Patricia, cover your ears. No, that's great. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to all three of you for that great introduction. I'm confident that we're going to have a great discussion here. A reminder to those who are in the room and are attending, again, we're looking for participation here, so please feel free to raise your hand if you have a question, or if you feel free to put your question into the chat box here, and we'll definitely field that to our panelists today. And again, as a reminder, this is the first of many sessions. We actually have a second session as well tomorrow. So we're looking forward to another whole set of great panelists to join us. So we'll get the questions started. So as successful entrepreneurs, you've undoubtedly faced numerous challenges in your journey. Could you share any specific instance or a specific instance where you encountered a significant obstacle and discuss how you managed to navigate it while prioritizing your mental health? I'm not sure who wants to go first.
Okay, I can go first.
All right, please go
Okay,
ahead.
so we've been in business for many years. I, joined in 2002, so that's about 22 years ago when I decided that I was going to be a full-time entrepreneur, and I have never worked anywhere else. It's been full-time doing the business. The initial years were quite challenging when we just started. Because number one, we're doing something that was kind of mundane, was new. So we were kind of like trailblazers, putting the Black community on television. And at that time also, it was very difficult for advertisers to understand our community, the strength of our numbers and our buying power. So we had to work hard to put together some sort of statistics to help us to sell advertising. So it was very difficult to even get, advertising on our platforms. And then we also had issues with, capital, trying to raise funds. But we actually, through personal funding and all that and multitasking, were able to, get started. So like any new startup, we were doing everything, when the graphic designers producing the ads, or whether one speaking the phone, the whole thing that happens when you just, start a company small, which in hindsight, now that I know better, is not a good way to start a company. It's actually very difficult to start a company that way and to grow it to a big company. So the best way to start a business is to come up with a good business plan and get funding, and then get the right people and get started. But due to our culture, the whole culture of borrowing and getting loans from the bank is not something that we embrace that often, especially coming from Africa. We don't like owing, I should say. I'm from an economy where you just pay cash. You go buy a car, you pay cash. You don't, like go get a bank loan to pay for the car. So I came with that mentality. So the challenge of capital, of multitasking, and in my case, I had just gotten married the same year. I decided to become a full-time entrepreneur. So I was having kids in between. And then as the business grew, it had new challenges, because now you're known, you have to prove yourself, you have to be persistent, you have to actually stay true to your vision, your values and objectives, and to expectations of not just your clients, but your stakeholders. So eventually we launched a 24-hour TV channel, which posed even more challenges, because at the time, launching a 24-hour TV channel required, millions of dollars, and this is not funds that we had sitting somewhere. So trying to get funding again was difficult. As most entrepreneurs in the Black community know, it is hard to get the banks to believe in us, especially when the projects are focused on our community, which is a historically disadvantaged community, even economically. So we had to figure out other means to get things going. So, because of all these pressures and all this stress, it can be quite daunting on one's mental health if one's not careful. But I would say that in our case, our faith had a lot to do with, helping to keep us on track. And community support as well. We had people that we could talk to. We belonged to organizations, and this kind of helped us to stay in business for all these years. We're nearing about 26 years, and I joined my husband 22 years ago, and we've grown, exponentially over the years. And this is because we've been able to make sure that we're mentally, physically, and otherwise sound, which, I would like to hear what other people have to say. For now.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Patricia. So I could kind of go next. So for me, definitely, I think the biggest challenge that I had, starting off as a fresh entrepreneur, I didn't have the privilege of having funding available. So I had to maintain a job while building the business. So, as a clinical practitioner myself, I was seeing clients, I had rented office space. So I'm doing this after work, after my professional 9 to 5 job. And then I'll go see clients at night. I had rented the space. So the space you have to pay for it. So if you're not working. So what happened very quickly is, I started to notice that you only have 24 hours a day. How then are you supposed to work in a business and work on a business? And for entrepreneurs, you start to realize very quickly, those are two different things. There's work that you need to do to maintain the business, to pay bills, but then to grow the business, you have to be able to kind of step back and look at what and who and how you're going to be able to kind of pull together resources to be able to take the business from one level to another. So whereas I had a lot of potential, I had a lot of clients that, were reaching out for services, I did not have the ability to step back and, at that time, put together the infrastructure without bringing in other people. And, the resources that I didn't have that would allow me to kind of step back and, be able to still service my overhead expenses was funding. So at this time, of course, like all, entrepreneurs, you start looking for ways to access funds. And, one of the best things I would say is, not letting go of my initial full-time job. That actually allowed me, because when you start approaching for banks, they don't care about the business that you're doing. They're asking for what is the proof that you'll be successful, you'll be able to repay back this fund, this finance that you're getting access to. So for the most part, you need to almost look at the entrepreneurship journey like, walking up steps. You have to have your foot down on one level as you're reaching up to another, because a lot of times you cannot be floating. It's very difficult for you to be able to reach up to higher grounds if you do not have a strong footing, you don't have the right resources or the right foundation built in place. And I figured out that was the biggest challenge I had at that stage. And of course, everybody knows the mental health sector, then the pandemic hits. And for all practitioners who have office space that you're paying for, that became such a huge challenge because you cannot see clients for at least 6 months. We could not see clients in person, and people were also very resistant to try out virtual services. So, of course, we all just came out of a pandemic, and during that time, you're trying to help other people's mental health while also trying to maintain and manage your own. And your own has a lot of bills. I had 3 offices rented out throughout the city, so I have these bills still coming. So I would say, honestly, for all individuals, find a good support team. I was very lucky to have, friends and family that were able to jump in and, help me at that critical time. Old networks, old people that I was able to reach out to, they started giving me, knowledge that I needed to how to access resources and how to secure funding to be able to expand my vision. And I think that was the best thing for me, being able to look at my support system, having that support system and be able to rely on them. So during that critical time, it was really just about, figuring out a way to access resources. And you can't do it all. You don't have all the skills, building a strong team. I think that is the mental health, because even when you have people to talk to, you don't keep all of this bottled up inside of you. A big part of it is, and that's what kind of creates anxiety. Think about it, the fear of tomorrow. The fear of tomorrow is anxiety, the uncertainty that has to do with entrepreneurship and the landscape of it. So it's always understanding that how can I release this? How can I release this into, this uncertainty? Uncertainty if you're struggling to gain access to knowledge. And this is where you have to see people within your environment, and connect with professional people that have done it. I was able to have a lot of great mentors, and that helped with my mental health, because somebody that has done it before said, hey, do it like this. This is how you get through it. So all of this, and it's very important to know how you cope best. So prioritizing your mental health, also knowing about what helps you within your individual situation. So like Patricia said, go back to whether it's ritual, having that grounding so that you're able to kind of, through the chaos, you have that peace in your mind, and, you're able to have that strong faith that keeps you going step by step. So I'm excited to hear what Robert has to share also.
Okay. Well, thanks. I'll just touch upon, and it's something that you might not, we haven't discussed this yet. I think with regard to your support system, you have to really be reliant upon that, or identify holes in it. For myself, like I don't have that much family up here in Canada, but in addition to that, like I have to combat my own mentality. When you're an artist, it's not like you have 5 people working on a piece of a painting, like it's something that you do alone. So I had to confront the fact, and Michael brought up, having a support system and identifying when your own mentality is actually inhibiting your progress. So I did have to address the fact that my mentality as an artist and really thinking of doing things alone, I carried that type of mentality into everything else, right? So once I started realizing that, I would take on people like students and hire individuals to do certain jobs for me that I wasn't capable of doing, because you don't want to be a jack of all trades and like a total master of none. You have to be able to uh understand where you're lacking and ask for help in that regard. So that's been one of the biggest journeys for myself. The other is specifically to what I do. Although I'm detailing stories of African Canadians, it often pushes me into different areas where I have to take stands and have advocacy on African Canadians as well. So there's a blend of it being a business, but there's also that advocacy piece, because there are people that phone me and they just want to buy one poster from me, and they openly tell me that they just need it for their business, right, or their corporation. And then like I can't just let it slide. I kind of ask, well, why do you just need one? Like, why can't you have it for the rest of the year? So so there's various things that come into play. Even Black people talking to me when they call me, stating that their boss doesn't want to purchase anything for Black History Month. This is coming out of their own pocket. I had an administrative assistant that's a Black woman in one of the school boards, and they bought 200 posters from me, and she was rolling up as well as putting the posters in the box as well by herself, right? And I'm going like, we really need to move forward, because just to get, so I really have to appreciate her effort, because you have to have that type of be committed to getting Black history into the schools. But there's also a stress on mental health in various ways that we have to be considerate of.
Absolutely. Those are all great responses. And just so everyone is aware, Robert has posted the link to his posters in the chat. So definitely take a moment to check that out and support the cause. And like you said, don't just buy one. I mean, there's multiple to choose from, right? So
Right.
I know Patricia had mentioned, you touched on a little bit about culture, right? So myself, I'm native to Ghana, West Africa. I believe Michael is as well too. So I guess maybe we can talk a little bit about kind of how culture has positively or negatively impacted, what the intersection is between entrepreneurship, mental health, and the cultural nuances that kind of play into it as well, both positive and negative.
Well, I'll start off since I went last the last time. Both of my parents are from Barbados, and just recently, I had a contract dispute with an individual, and they tried sending me a portion of the contract that wasn't in the contract that we actually signed. All right. So I always say to myself that you don't like even try implying that you're questioning the intellect of a Bayesian person, because it's really something that would make us flip, right? So when they did that, and I started saying, no, I'm just going to tell them that's not in the contract, so Bayesians as well as other people from different countries around the world in the Caribbean and Africa value education. But with respect to my upbringing, that was really an emphasis. So consequently, I tried learning as much as I can throughout the whole 30 years I've been doing this poster, and trying to improve it to make it more intellectually stimulating as much as I can. So with the poster, I put QR codes on the poster that lead to questions on that individual person. So it's not just a pretty picture that's on the wall. It's something interactive and relevant to the time. So with respect to my upbringing, and the cultural relevance, that kind of comes into play. My upbringing, that is, right?
Thank you. I'll go next. I will go in the reverse order. So I think in terms of culture, West African Ghana, and I think for the majority of the times, I grew up where, you know, mental health was not necessarily recognized. You know, I would hear comments like, you know, what's depression? You know, when I came to this country, you know, I was here by myself. You know, how can you be depressed? You know, I grew up where my father worked long hours and prioritized working over many different things. You know, I would say over, you know, your own well-being. So getting into entrepreneurship, naturally you feel this constant push inside of you. Like, are you working hard enough? You know, you're working for yourself now. You have to go extra and overtime every single day because, you know, your mom would tell you these stories of being barefoot and going to school, like all these stories that we hear all the time. And of course, you know, in my home at least, where, you know, parents were professionals in a sense, entrepreneurship was not being the doctor or the lawyer. So if you're going to do this, you better be successful. So this is the, you know, African home I came from. So, you know, you sometimes find yourself working extremely hard. And that's where, you know, I think that's the intersectionality of the mental health piece, because we have to be able to understand that it is okay to take a break. It is okay to prioritize your well-being while you're going on this journey. On this journey, it's okay to stop, rest. It's okay to talk to people. It's okay to take people with you. You know, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go alone. All these things that we hear are all part of, you know, how to maintain or sustain or just be well. If you look at it, it's a lot of statistics that talk about entrepreneurs, you know, struggling with suicidal thoughts, twice or more likely to have anxiety and depression, all things that really talks about how we need to prioritize ourselves against what culture says sometimes around, you know, being, you know, strong, being always high achieving. So I've had to balance that as a huge part of, you know, my journey. I guess the privilege of it is I work as a mental health profession. So why not lead, you know, sometimes the work, why don't, you know, the things that you're preaching, you should also be able to be a good example of it. But it is hard because the thing about entrepreneurship is if you don't do the work, nobody's going to do it. If a client calls you and you've been waiting for that call, I mean, you get up and this new day, you just put on a shirt, you get on that Zoom call. It's hard to separate the two. So even now more than ever, you know, mental health is really a priority that we need to also find a way where we could schedule time away so that we could spend time with our family and just be able to be recharged. Because sometimes I could find myself, I get up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and honestly, it's very easy to go to 12 just because the work does not stop when you're an entrepreneur. So balancing the two, you have to be very, very, very conscious. And I'm sure, Robert, you know, right now you're going through a peak season. So you're dealing with, you know, the long days, and I'm sure, Patricia, the same thing for you. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah, I agree with you, Michael, and you know, as well as Robert. I feel like culture has a lot to do with, you know, how we approach the entrepreneurship journey. Just like Michael said, as Africans, we're a resilient people, and we kind of push ourselves to the limit. And being Nigerian, Nigerians don't take no for an answer. I mean, there's this adage that if there's a wall between you and your goal, if you cannot break it, you can jump over it. So the mentality is not to give up, not to give in, just to figure out another way to make it work. But the problem with that is that sometimes you have to know when to stop, right? You have to know when to stop. You have to know when an idea is not working. You know, you have to know when it's time to move on to another idea. So for instance, we stayed in business for so long, there were times that we had to sit back and take stock. When we started, we're doing wedding videos and wedding photographies. We used to do video conversions and even like offer services like designing and printing of business cards and stuff like that. We did this for many years, but one day I just asked myself, are some of those things really serving us? Is it serving our goals and aspirations, what we really want to achieve? And the answer was no. So we stopped doing a lot of the things that we used to do. We no longer do wedding videos and photography. We no longer design business cards and some of those things that we used to do, because we had to, you know, look at our overall vision and where we wanted to go. And we had to shave off some things. It didn't mean that we failed. It just meant that we had to recalibrate to do things a different way. Now, the other thing which Michael touched on a little bit was the whole idea of being able to separate the business from your personal life. And for me, it was even more challenging because my husband and I work together. So the business follows you everywhere, like everywhere. There were times I didn't want to talk about the business, I just wanted to be home. But, the conversation comes because we're married and we live together. And, so, and the whole thing about taking breaks, entrepreneurs tend to work longer hours. And because of the added challenges that we face as Black entrepreneurs, you have to actually give in more than 100% to prove yourself. And I know I can imagine how, Robert, what it took for you to convince a bank to take your posters. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure you had to, put together a very stunning and convincing proposal. So you work extra. And I know for many years, we didn't take a vacation. We didn't take a vacation as a family for so many years. We just kept on working and going. And sometimes because when you're doing something that has to do with a community that's underserved in so many respects, you're actually stretching the dollar. So you're doing so much with so little. But what I've learned now is that the world is not going to end if I rest, and I have learned to also allow things to fall through the cracks sometimes. And I say it's a balancing act that is never perfect as entrepreneurs. So, but it's important to really ensure that I know, like back home, for instance, if somebody is selling something and they say, okay, we close at 6 p.m. If somebody comes at 6:02, they will open the door and serve them. But the culture in North America is that if they're closing at 6 on the dot, it's closed. And I think that's one cultural thing that as entrepreneurs in the Black community, we have to learn to keep the business as business and our personal time as our personal time, to have a vacation time and, all this. But I think overall culture does play a huge role on how we approach not just business, but anything in our lives.
Absolutely. I found Michael's answer very funny when he talked about so when somebody said depression. I once heard somebody say to somebody, how can you be depressed? You live in Canada. You're in the promised land. So with the assumption that everything is fine and dandy and all roses over here as well, but obviously, there are challenges everywhere. So very interesting takes on culture and the intersection there. So thank you all for those answers. We'll remind everyone in the audience, we're also going to open it up to questions from the audience as well. If you have any questions specifically for any of our panelists, please feel free to raise your hand or you can type them into the chat box. I'll go on to my next question here is, we understand that entrepreneurship often requires an intense level of dedication. I know we've touched on this a little bit here. We've talked a lot about kind of the pain points, but we're all about trying to find solutions, right? So to the entrepreneur right now that's in the community that maybe dealing with some mental health and trying to operate and run their business, etc. Are there any specific practices or routines that have been particularly impactful for you in running your business and also prioritizing and dealing with your mental health that you can share with everyone?
So I could go first. The first advice, and probably the best advice I got on my entrepreneurship journey is, you don't have to sleep in your car to be a successful entrepreneur. You don't have to be homeless to be a successful entrepreneur. You also don't need to jump off a plane with your dreams to be successful in entrepreneurship. You have to know who you are. You have to know who you are, first of all, because entrepreneurship is going to challenge your being in every single department. Some people, some individuals, everybody's built differently. So when you see your friend who's able to stay up all night, who's able to sacrifice and live on the little, don't assume that has to be your journey to success. So yes, it's nice when we hear the Steve Harvey tell his story about sleeping in the car, or Tyler Perry talk about being homeless for 2 years. That does not have to be you. That is that is really the essence of prioritizing your mental health and prioritizing your success. Even to be successful in business, you're going to realize that you got to be able to prioritize, because every single department within your business requires priorities. And it first starts with you. You do not have to sleep in your car to be successful. And I think that is the biggest misconception that a lot of people go into entrepreneurship with, feeling that they have to, one, quit their job the moment the idea comes in their head. No, actually, keep working your job, because you have to bore the passion from the dream and the vision and use it to fuel you. The business is also going to need money. Where are you going to get the money from? All these things, and like Patricia said, there's various additional barriers that impact Black people when they're starting and getting a business to be successful. Think about that. Consider all those things before you leave your job. That is actually giving you the money that you need. So a lot of times people, because of the path that they choose to success, assume a lot more risk and stress. You have to be strategic. Business is strategy. This is why mentorship is so important. We start rather from our passion. And when you follow passion, you lose a lot of times the general common sense that is needed to be successful, which is you need to be sustainable. You need to be sustainable, because the business does not take off when you want it to. A lot of times your 6 months goal is really 16 months. So why quit your job the moment you get that idea? So really, how we assume the stress and manage the stress is based on us being able to forecast, and whatever timeline you've set for yourself, double it. It doesn't matter what sector you're going into. If a person promises you something in entrepreneurship, I mean, I'm going to give you this contract, I'll give it to you next month, don't quit your job, because that person's going to message you 30 days later and say, oh, I'm going to have to wait for approval from this person and that person, and now you quit your job. If you know, this is part of why mentorship is so important, because a good mentor will tell you to manage your ambition, because that is honestly the greatest determinant of success. Because you start spending money on the wrong things, you start spending your priority, you start prioritizing, and the moment you put yourself in that anxiety, that fight and flight mode, you actually increase your chances of success, of failure, because now you're not thinking clearly. So please, I think, really look at your support system and the risk that you're willing to take, and just walk backwards from it and look at it from each and every component of your life. We've mentioned that there's a lot of barriers that exist. These barriers, you have to plan your success alongside them and make sure that your basic baseline, which is your sustainability, which allows you to be strong, and then find other routines, because you're going to have to get up early, stay up late, do all those things, other things that help you to be well mentally. But from having and running a well business, manage your ambition. Don't run it off of passion. Run off of basic, how can I be sustainable so that this dream, you increase your chance of success.
Yeah, I really love that, Michael. As an entrepreneur in the Black community, who is also a mentor to a lot of, entrepreneurs in the community, I see that we have the sole visionary syndrome, which is something that I coined, which I can do it all by myself syndrome. You just want to, be the star of your business. You want to do it all by yourself. Hence, we scrape all the money we have and we remortgage our home. I'm guilty of that. Sleeping on, we have been homeless before because of the business, believe it or not. But now that I know better, I know how to do a business now. So now when I have an idea, I'm not going to use my money. I will focus all my energies on putting together a stellar business plan, and I'll try to take it to the people that can give me capital. Because if my idea is not good enough to attract capital, it's not good enough. if I can't get one more person to believe in the idea, it's an idea that's questionable. The way that the mainstream people do business, and which is why we used to publish a magazine called Diversity Magazine, which was in the blue boxes across the GTA, competing with the Toronto Star publications in the same boxes. And because of that publication, we got to do a lot with other communities. And what I saw in other communities, the level of success was mind-blowing. And I didn't see that level of success in our community. And that's because we for the most part, want to start things small. This is not how other communities do it. They have an idea, they go to the banks. I do know that the banks, it's hard for us to convince the bank because we have this, systemic issues that are against us. But I must say that in recent times, I've seen things moving better. We even have some banks who have like dedicated, people just to deal with Black entrepreneurs. This is our time. Like, I know as a Nigerian, we don't like to borrow. We don't like to owe, because when you owe someone, you cannot sleep. That's the culture that I come from. So even getting a loan is like a taboo. But I have learned that. So in 2016, we actually got people to infuse capital into our business, and we saw the difference. We would have remained small if we didn't do that. As soon as we got capital into the business, we had more people, the right people. And with the right people, they were doing the right things, and we grew exponentially. We kind of grew. We started to do things that we never even imagined that we could do. We attracted the right, clients. So I'll say, focus on the business plan, go get the money, hire the right people, do it big from the beginning. If it doesn't work out, you try another idea, you fold up that idea, but make sure before you give up, you've tried all the possibilities of that idea succeeding. This is how the mainstream do. They don't attach themselves to, so the company is separate. If it doesn't work, that's not your personal failure. You move on to the next. The second thing I'll advise here is, and this is something I say carefully, because if you don't understand what I'm saying, you may be like, what is she saying? But think about it deeply and do your research, and you see that what I'm saying is the best way if you want to make true impact. Number two is time management. Time management is everything as an entrepreneur. You have clients waiting on you. And the other thing I want to say is always under promise and over deliver. And that helps your mental health too, because sometimes the reason we're stressed is, oh, I promised this client I'm going to get this job done on Tuesday at 2. You gave yourself a time that's so short. The way that the folks who do things in the mainstream and understand how things is to be done is, they know they're going to be finished on Tuesday. Guess what? They tell you to be done on Friday to give them enough time for contingency, so that if something goes wrong, they can fix it. But when you give yourself a close deadline and now you're stressed, oh my God, it's on Tuesday and I have A, B, C to do. So what I've learned now, I know I'm going to be done on Monday. I tell you I'm going to be done on Friday. It gives me time. So if something is wrong, if I can't even do it, I can get somebody else to do it. So keep that in mind. And the last thing I would say is positivity. Be positive. Don't give up easily. I know we've been in business now for almost 26 years. And there was a time when at the end of the month, you had to start beating fast because you have employees that are looking up to you, have rent to pay and all that. But that doesn't happen to us anymore now. But the thing though is this, we're always very positive that the next month is going to bring in enough to pay for itself. But not just that, back it up with positive action, massive positive action. And that comes from planning. Sometimes we just get into business out of passion, like Michael said. That is how we started, with passion. We just wanted to showcase our community, show positive stories, and encourage us, inspire us to do better, make sure our young people have role models. That was what was driving us. But at some point, we realized, there's no money. And now we're stressed, we're homeless, and we're going through all those things. Now we plan better, and things that are not working, we shove them. But before you shove them, you do your real, analysis. There are many other reasons, but I'll just leave it there for now because of time.
Sorry, Robert, you're on mute.
Yeah, you can go on to the next question, Colin, because I just be repeating what Michael and Patricia said.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean, those were some great insights from Michael and Patricia. We do have a comment here in the chat. Very true. Sometimes we get distracted from what we see on social media from successful people. So I guess on that topic, how do you feel, or do you feel that social media has a great impact, or is a detriment to entrepreneurship and or mental health? I guess we'll start with you, Robert.
Well, I think that I'll just answer quickly that I think that it's had a negative impact, really, because it creates expectations that are unrealistic, because you're seeing a glimpse, like literally like a minute glimpse of a person's life, and you're seeing like 500 glimpses of people's lives, and they're always showcasing the best part of it, right? So that's an unrealistic depiction of how people's success, and on top of that, whether it be like Steve Harvey or somebody else, like they could, over the range of time, that story can be, doesn't have to be exactly how it was depicted. Like I always tell, when I got into doing this poster, I was in law school at the time, and I was deciding, maybe I shouldn't do this poster, because it was my second year doing it, and it wasn't making me any money. And I said to myself, because I'm going to become a lawyer, right? So maybe I should just focus on that. So realistic, I was downtown Toronto. I got hit by a car as a pedestrian, and literally the car not hit me, and I fell like about 6 feet, right? But basically I am 6 feet, so I basically fell down and rolled, right? But gradually, when I tell that story, it gets, I could easily increase the drama of it all, because I'm dispatched away from what occurred, right? But it still paid me a lot, but still, we just have to be mindful of our own stories and our own struggles, and just to realize that those snippets on social media aren't telling everybody's total story, right? And oftentimes they might be exaggerated for effect, because hey, if I exaggerate that story, I might sell some more posters. And if I notice I'm selling more posters, then I'll start exaggerating that story even more, right? So you just have to really be in touch with yourself and what your life is all about, and not be conveyed about what's on social media. Because if that was, I'd be off to Bali every other weekend if I noticed what people are doing.
It would have been you flew 26 feet instead of 6 feet, right?
Yeah, 26 feet. I got knocked on, I rolled, and then it hit me again. And so, yeah.
Right. Patricia, did you have something to add?
Yes. Yeah. The thing with social media is that most people are showing you their moment of glory and not the story behind, this glory. For me, I see social media as an asset. I see it as an asset for an entrepreneur, because not only does it inspire you to do better, but it actually gives you a framework of what you could aspire to be. So when you see other people doing well, it's all about perspective. Instead of seeing it as, okay, this person is doing well, this person is going on vacation, you can see it as, oh, okay, this person is doing great, is doing well. Wow, I can do well too. See it as an inspiration, an opportunity for you to do better, to recalibrate and ask yourself, what can I do, to attain, similar success or even better. And also we know as entrepreneurs that social media has become the one tool that can help us sell our ideas, can package our products and services and put it out there, and so people can notice us. So social media is a great asset. It can be a detriment if you actually, harness it the wrong way, to look at other people doing well and then feel bad about your situation. But I say, see it as, a motivation to do better, to, inspire yourself to aspire for greater levels of success in whatever you're doing.
No, I love the responses by both panelists, and really, I think, like Robert said, unrealistic depiction of life. Really, just make sure that you use it for its benefits. You stay grounded, and really just know that whatever you post online, somebody's seeing, especially as an entrepreneur. Even if somebody approaches you because of something you posted online, you have to be able to deliver on it. So when you're honest, you're transparent, it's very important that what you posted online is actually things that you can deliver on. And because, yeah, the opportunity might come, but you might probably also blow it just because of you misrepresented yourself. So I also see a lot of that in my sector. People, that will post that I can do this, I specialize in that, and then the client gets on with you and you don't even know what you're talking about. So use it as a tool, but don't make it, don't try to be as realistic as possible with what you post and what you share and how you use it to enhance whatever your mission is.
Amazing advice. Always take what you see with a grain of salt, essentially, right? So that's great. We're quickly approaching the 1 o'clock hour, and we definitely want to be respectful of time. So we will, first of all, we want to thank our wonderful panelists. This was obviously a great session. We do want to take some time to quickly discuss about some of the projects that June Legacy Foundation and our BEC team is co-leading with Sprout School of Business at Carleton University. So we have the BEC ecosystem mapping, which is, excuse me. So BEC, the Black Entrepreneurship Hub, has been mandated by Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada to create a network map of Canadian Black entrepreneurship ecosystem. We can think of the idea of entrepreneurship ecosystem as all the people, resources, and organizations that exist in an environment that can support, engage, nurture, and sustain entrepreneurs. By collaborating with us, you'll be part of an ecosystem that will be accessible to the Black community at a national scale. This map meets the express needs of the Black entrepreneurs for a platform to connect for possible new contacts, joint ventures, and peer support. This network map can show all the linkages, connections, and relationships that exist between entrepreneurs and will provide current and future entrepreneurs access to support, information, resources, and ultimately help to promote visibility between and amongst Black entrepreneurs. Then we also have the surveys. Again, we have a quantitative and qualitative study. And again, if you're a Black entrepreneur with a business idea, we want to hear from you. And by participating in the quantitative survey, you're helping us to tell the story of Black entrepreneurs and their enterprises, to advance and energize Black entrepreneurship and support the critical gaps in which Black entrepreneurs face the greatest challenges and opportunities. Again, this survey is mandated by the Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada. The survey will be available in French and English. It's inclusive of many different peoples within the Black communities. It's tested by Black entrepreneurs and researchers, approved by Carleton University Ethics Board to safeguard your rights as a participant, and it is completely anonymous. If you have any questions about the survey or the study, please email the research team at research@bec@carleton.ca. And for any questions about your rights as a research participant, you can email the chair of Carleton University Research Ethics Board at ethics@carleton.ca. So once again, we'd like to thank you for attending our Black History Month Leadership Series event. A reminder that we have many more in store. We just want to give a quick minute here for our panelists to maybe if they have any parting words and where attendees can reach out to get in touch with you. Robert, since you're already unmuted, if you want to go first.
Yeah, well, people can reach me at thelegacyposter.com, and you know, as well as my email, I'll put it in the chat, which is rsmall@thelegacyposter.com, and I'm open to hearing suggestions for people that can be profiled on my next poster for next year.
Amazing.
Okay. So people could reach me at my email and website, which I'm posting in the chat. My advice to everybody is get a mentor. You know, mentorship is so important. It will cut your time in half, and I think it's really all about the mental health we're talking about. You know, it takes away a lot of the anxiety when you have and you're able to build relationships with others who have done this journey and to help you on while you're doing yours.
Yeah, my advice to everyone is dream big. Dream big. If you have an idea, what is the ultimate way to execute that idea to reach more people, to make a bigger impact? Go after the money, leave a legacy of success. We can do it. So why not? And how to reach me, our website is afroglobaltelevision.com. And on social media, I am at Patricia, Bebia, Mawa.
Amazing. Thank you all again once so much for your participation. A reminder, we have our research workshop at 2 o'clock today. And then we have part 2 of this conversation as part of our leadership series tomorrow, same time. You also have the link as well, where we have new panelists also discussing the intersection of entrepreneurship and mental health. As always, please follow the Dreammaker or Dream Legacy team on social media. You can also visit our website at dreamlegacy.org. Thank you so much for your time. We're wishing everyone a great rest of the day, and we will see you on the next workshop. Have a good one, everyone.